Andy.
Hello, Sarah. How are you today?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. I want to thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule, especially a week out from the election, to talk about your candidacy, especially to the viewers and the folks at home who are going to be listening in.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, so we're going to start this super unique question. You've probably never heard it before. I hope it's not a curveball. Why did you decide to run for county clerk?
Well, I was a little bit surprised when my boss, Kalamazoo County Clerk and Register of Deeds Tim Snow, decided to retire at the end of the year. But I'm currently the Deputy County Clerk and Election Specialist. And as I surveyed the landscape, there was really no one else who was qualified to do the job who was interested in doing it. There's a very small handful of local clerks who would be qualified to step up and do the job, and none of them expressed any interest in it. So it's certainly not an entry-level job, and being the only person with experience who was ready to do it, I said, okay, I'll give it a go.
Okay, great. That's a very good reason to want, and it kind of ties directly into my second question here. Talking about kind of qualifications and what it takes to be a county clerk. Could you tell the viewers, the listeners, about that relevant experience and how that puts you in a position to kind of be the best of the choices to be the next county clerk?
Sure. I have 20 years of elections experience in several facets of Michigan election law and procedures. I've worked at the level, at the regional level, city, county, and state levels of Michigan elections. And so I've seen them from a variety of perspectives and seen the different procedures and how all the procedures work together. I also have a master's degree in public administration, and I was Kalamazoo County's 2018 Service Excellence Award winner. I'm known for the excellent service that I give to all sorts of visitors to the Kalamazoo County Clerk Register's office, and I'm known for providing professional service in an unbiased way. Also, something that I can provide that no one else in the race has is the knowledge of the hardware and the software and the processes that we use to get our work done. And I have the relationships with the clerks in all 19 local units of government in Kalamazoo County, as well as good relationships with our vendors and the Bureau of Elections. I can absolutely hit the ground running, and there is no on-the-job training needed.
Okay, great. And could you just describe a little bit more in depth, like what do those duties include? Will include as county clerk, and bringing that experience to the table. How is that going to kind of position you well to carry out those duties?
Well, there are three main sections to the Kalamazoo County Clerk Register's office. One is the deeds side of the office, where all the land records, it's like a giant library of land records. There's also the vital records part of the office, which handles the vital records, including birth, death, marriage, CPL, DBA, notaries, that kind of thing. And then there's the election side of the office. And as the Deputy County Clerk and Election Specialist, that's the part that I'm most familiar with and where I came up in. But having been Deputy County Clerk for the past 4 years, I'm certainly familiar with the various parts of the office and how they operate, how they conduct their work, the hardware and software that they use, as well as the procedures and the laws that govern their work.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And this actually ties into our next question. We're talking about elections. As you mentioned, it's one of the key functions of the county clerk's office. I wanted to ask you, above and beyond kind of the work that is done there now, what would you do as a county clerk to expand voting access and participation, and also use this question as any other things that you could improve to kind of streamline the election process here in Kalamazoo County?
Well, I'm hearing this from other candidates who seem to have the perception that voter engagement is the role of the county clerk. And Michigan is different from any other state in that our elections are intentionally decentralized. Our local city and township clerks register voters handle absentee ballots, manage all of the operations in the precincts, and that's really different from the way most other states do things. So at the county, we support the local clerk's efforts by helping support what they do in a variety of ways. We train the poll workers for jurisdictions with fewer than 10,000 voters. We often help recruit poll workers in a very general way, although the city and townships actually do the hiring. We help centralize the message and help get that out, that poll workers are needed. We provide all the programming for the elections and provide the supplies, including the ballots. So we provide that central programming that causes your tabulator to read your ballot in your specific precinct. But voter engagement itself is the charge of the local clerk. So if you hear a candidate for county clerk talking about that, it's a sure sign of their inexperience.
All right, thank you. Now we're going to pivot to kind of this is more of a historical contextual question, as in the history that we're living through right now. So it's a question related to COVID-19. I'm sure it's presented some unique challenges to the county clerk's office. I know you are currently part of the clerk's office right now, so you probably have some insight into that. Can you describe the challenges that you faced during the pandemic and perhaps how the county clerk's office can prepare for future health crises or maybe just analogous crises in the future?
Sure. Well, we were closed very little during this pandemic. I think I was off of work for 4 or 5 days, less than a week. It took a few days of this closure to figure out how we were going to be nimble and creative and move forward. And with the help of IT, our wonderful IT department at the county, we were able to quickly shift. They provided laptops for all of us, and it really helped us to handle the increased volume of mail that we were receiving, because all of the business that used to come to the front counter was now coming in by mail. And so we had to just shift our processes to be able to handle that. And I'm just so happy to say that March through June of this year, there were more than 14,000 documents recorded and indexed. And that's just an amazing number throughout that time period. But we just were nimble and found creative ways to process the requests that came in. We weren't able to process marriage licenses and CPLs in particular, but we found ways to do that. The two agencies in the county that are able to accept fingerprints and connect with the Michigan State Police in order to process CPLs, they're closed now, and they're not planning to open anytime soon. But the public was telling us we need our CPL licenses, and so we found ways to work with the Sheriff's Department. And so huge shout out to Sheriff Fuller, and thank you for working with us to figure out a way to get those fingerprints taken and move those licenses along. And with marriage licenses, the governor actually passed an emergency order expanding the use of remote notarization services, and that really helped us to be able to process marriage licenses by mail. Not completely. The couple still does need to come in at the end of the process and show identification and pick up their marriage license, but we're still being able to do some things that we weren't able to do at the very beginning of this pandemic. So going forward, the lesson learned is just really be creative, step back, be patient with ourselves, be patient with our customers, and be willing to examine our processes in order to find new solutions to things.
Well, thank you, Sarah, and thank you for kind of the insight into how the clerk's office has been dealing with this unprecedented situation. My next question has to do with it's an accessibility question, accessibility to county records specifically. And I was wondering, how do you think the county clerk's office under your leadership could help with transparency and this is really the key thing, making information more accessible and easier to navigate. Of course, I've asked this question to different kind of municipal entities in the area, and what I typically mean more is just making sure that people know how to access that information and those resources. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with that question, just to clarify.
Oh, certainly. Well, the county clerk's office was the very first department in the county to begin digitizing records back in 1999. have always kind of been leading the way in the county and in the state with different processes that we would like to try in order to move things forward. And so currently users can query death, marriage, notary, and assumed name records online. And deeds documents are accessible online back to 1980. And so one thing that we continue to do is to work backwards in time and digitize more and more of those records so that they can be found online. And I do think that we can do a better job of letting people know about the availability of those records online. I love to engage with the community. I love to speak to Rotary clubs and different association, neighborhood groups, that kind of thing, in order to just help share the message of what's available. So I certainly intend to be that kind of clerk who's out meeting the public and helping them understand how to engage with the clerk's office, what the clerk's office can do for them, and in turn how they can help the community through volunteering with the clerk's office, or even helping to register voters or helping to recruit new poll workers. Another important thing that we do with transparency, and another important thing that we're doing to lead the way in transparency, is with regard to elections. I'm part of the Bureau of Elections Risk Limiting Audit Pilot Project, and that's a specific new statistical method that's endorsed by the American Statistical Association, the Brennan Center for Justice, and a variety of other voting rights groups. And it tests the accuracy of the reported outcome of an election. And that's really exciting because we've always done audits and spot checks, and the Board of County Canvassers certifies the entire election after checking the records of every precinct, but this actually tests the reported outcome. And so it's been exciting to be part of that pilot project and part of helping for it to become a statewide standard.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. That, by the way, very informative. A lot of stuff in there I didn't know myself. And then this last question, this is kind of just your opportunity, anything I didn't explicitly ask you about in this interview that you would like to kind of use this platform to speak out about, etc. But basically our wrap-up question here, what other priorities would you have if elected to the position of county clerk on August 4th? Or, well, I guess November. But
well, yes, the primary's in August and the general's in November. But one important goal that I have is to increase the diversity among the staff members in the county clerk registrar's office. I think that's definitely an area where we can do better. We have an excellent staff. They're top-notch. But we are a quite middle-aged female bunch in that office. And we serve a very diverse array of clientele, and I would like for us to reflect that a little bit better in age and race and gender and languages. I think it's particularly important that we have, at least one Spanish speaker and one Arabic speaker, and to be able to use American Sign Language. So definitely diversity is close to my heart and something that I want to do to help improve the service that we offer. Another goal that I have is to be able to help our DBA applicants, particularly our new DBA applicants, those new businesses in town, connecting with each other and connecting with existing businesses in order to strengthen their networks. And I have experience in creating very low-cost programs to bring these kinds of organizations together and strengthen each other through their own services. And one of my big goals is what I just talked about too, with the risk limiting audit, to test the reported results of elections and increase transparency in that realm. That's something that I've been very pleased to work with on the state level, and very, very interested in helping to implement throughout the state.
All right, Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to speak with us on the program. One last thing real quick, if people are interested in your campaign or they want to help, how would they find out more about you?
2 ways. Visit me on Facebook, give me a follow at Sarah Joshi for Clerk, or go to sarahjoshi.net. There you'll be able to see my endorsement gallery. I'm proud to say that my endorsers include many of the elected officials throughout the county, the township clerks, the township supervisors, many city commissioners, and other elected officials throughout the county. These are the people who know me for the work that I do. They rely on me currently for my leadership, my support, and coordination of the work that they do. And my endorsers also include a wide variety of community members who you will know and recognize and trust. So I'm very, very happy about that. My website also gives a little bit of background about myself and how I got into this line of work. It's not because I loved it so much. It's because I experienced a problem in the polling place. So go read about that. And I thought, well, put your money where your mouth is and go fix it. You'll also see just a variety of things about me and about my community service and community involvement over the years. So I'm definitely a part of this Kalamazoo community and look forward to connecting with more of your listeners through sarahjoshi.net and on Facebook at Sarah Joshi for Clerk.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah, and you have yourself a fantastic day.
Thanks very much, Andy. It was nice talking with you.